Hello, grade 10 learners. So welcome to our math class. I'm your math teacher, Ma'am Mayrulisa F. De Luna. So for quarter 1, module 1, week 1, we're going to talk about generating patterns. So let's have first our objectives for this lesson. So in this video lesson, you will learn to define sequence, finite and infinite sequence, generate and describe patterns, find the next few terms of a sequence, and find the general or end term of a sequence. So let's have a review. So if I'm not mistaken, you already have an idea about patterns. So what is the next shape? Okay, so we have a square, a triangle. Next is a square and two triangles, a square and three triangles. So if your answer is a square and four triangles, that is correct. Next, let's have number 2. What is the next number? So we have 0, 3, 6, 9, and 12. If your answer is 15, that is correct. Next, number 3. What is the 10th number? So you're going to refer on the example in number 2. If your answer is 27, so that is correct. Next, let's have number 4. So we have 7, 3, -1, -5, and -9. So what do you think is the next number? If your answer is -13, very good. Next, number 5. Again, using the same numbers. In number 4, so what is the 9th number? Correct, -25. Okay, so now let us define what is a sequence, or what is a sequence. So the word sequence means an order in which one thing follows another succession. So a sequence is an ordered list. So let's have another example. So what is the next term in the sequence? So we have x, x raised to 2, 3x raised to 3, 4x raised to 4, 5x raised to 5. So what do you think is the next term? If your answer is 6x raised to 6, that is correct. So a sequence is a set of objects which is listed in a specific order, one after another. So each member or element in the sequence is called term. So the terms in a sequence can be written as a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, a sub 4, a sub n, and so on. So which means a sub 1 is the first term, and a sub 2 is the second term. A sub 3 is the third term, and so on. So a sub n is the nth term. So let's have our first activity. So find the next term in each sequence. Okay, so we have 17, 22, 27, 32. So based on the given pattern, so what do you think is the next term in each in the given sequence in number 1? So if your answer is 37, very good. Next, so we have 1/2, 1/5, 1/8, and 1/11. So what do you think is the next term? Very good. So that is 1 over 14. So as you can see, you're going to base on the denominator. So in the denominator in number 2, just add 3. So 2 plus 3, 5 plus 3, 8 plus 3, 11 plus 3, 14. So the next term is 1 over 14. Next, so we have 5, 10, 20, 40. So what do you think is the next term? Let's see. Okay, so that is 80. So how are we going to find the next term? It's based on the pattern. So we have 5 multiplied by 2 is 10, multiplied by 2 is 20, multiplied by 2 is 40, then multiplied by 2, so that is 80. Let's proceed to number 4. So we have 3, negative 3, 3, negative 3. Okay, so the answer is positive 3. Okay, so just look at the pattern. So we have positive, negative, positive, negative. So definitely the next term is positive. Okay, next, number 5. We have negative 10, negative 20, negative 30. Okay, very good. So the answer is negative 40. Okay, in number 5, we just add negative 10 in each term. So we have the first term is negative 10 plus negative 10 is negative 20. So negative 20 is the second term. So we have negative 20 plus negative 10 is negative 30. And negative 30 plus negative 10 is negative 40. So remember the rules in adding integers. So when we add two negative numbers, so the answer is negative. Or if we add negative integers, so the answer is negative. So same sign, add and keep. So we can describe a sequence as finite and infinite sequence. So let us define what is a finite sequence. So it contains a limited number of terms. So for example, so the colors of the rainbow. So we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So the colors of the rainbow consist of how many colors? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So wala nang ibang kulay yung rainbow. So yun lang. So ibig sabihin limited. Hanggang dun lang siya. Next, number 2. Days of the week. So we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So ibig sabihin, after Saturday, babalik tayo ng Sunday. So limited lang yung number of terms. Next, first 10 positive perfect squares. So nagbigay siya ng condition. First 10 lang. So we have 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, and 100. So perfect square. So 1 square is 1, 2 square is 4, 3 square is 9, 4 square is 16, 5 square is 25, and so on. Okay. So next, so we have infinite sequence. Okay, so it contains a countless number of terms. So the number of terms of the sequence continues without stopping, or it has no end term. So the ellipses, so that is the symbol for ellipses, at the end of the shows that the sequences are infinite. So ibig sabihin, pag may nakikita tayong ellipses sa dulo ng sequence, infinite yun. Okay? So we have our first example. So we have the counting numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. May ellipsis sa last part. Okay? So ibig sabihin continuous lang. Okay, next, multiples of 5. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. Okay? So let's have our activity number 2. Okay, so you're going to write F if the sequence is finite, or I if the sequence is infinite. Okay, so let's see kung naiintindihan nyo yung finite and infinite. Okay, so number 1, 17, 22, 27, 32. Is it F or I? Okay, very good. F, okay? So, hanggang dun lang yung sequence. Okay, so that is an example of finite. Next, number 2. Very good. So, that is an example of infinite sequence. Next, number 3. Okay, very good. So, that is also infinite sequence. Number 4. Okay, very good. So, that is an example of finite. Okay. And number 5, very good. So that is also an example of finite. Okay. So let's proceed to finding the terms of the sequence. Okay. So sometimes a pattern in the sequence can be obtained and the sequence can be written using a general term. So in the previous example, so we have x, 2x raised to 2, 3x raised to 3, 4x raised to 4, 5x raised to 5, 6x raised to 6, and so on. So each term has the same exponent and coefficient. Okay? So we can write this sequence as a sub n is equal to nx raised to n. So we're in n is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So where a sub n is what we call the general term or n term. So as we go on to our lesson, so mas maiintindihan nyo kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng ating definition. So let's have our example number 1. So find the first 4 terms of the sequence. So the general term or the given term, general term is a sub n is equal to 2n minus 1. So, hahanapin natin yung first 4 terms. Okay? So, given yung general term. So, how are we going to solve for that? So, let's have our solution. So, to find the first term, let n equals to 1. So, using the general term, a sub n is equal to 2n minus 1. So, ang gagawin lang natin ay isa-substitute lang natin yung 1 sa lahat ng n. Okay? So, since we're looking for the first term, so we have a sub 1. So, be careful in writing the term, the general term, and the given equation. So, a sub n. So, maraming nagkakamali dyan. Dapat nakasubscript yung 1. Okay? So, meaning hinahanap natin yung first term. So, we have substitute 1 to n. So, we have 2 times 1 or multiply by 1 minus 1. Okay? So, it means i-multiply natin yung 2n which is 1 by 2. Then minus 1. So, we have 2 multiply by 1. So, we have 2. Then bring down negative 1 or minus 1. So, we have a sub 1 is equal to 1. So, 2 minus 1 is 1. So, ibig sabihin ang first term natin ay 1. Okay, next. Hanapin naman natin yung second term. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng n, papalitan natin ng 2. So, let's have our solution. So, again, always write first the given general term. Okay, so we have a sub 2 is equal to 2n minus 1. So again, substitute lang yung n, yung 2 sa lahat ng n. So we have a sub 2 is equal to 2 times 2 minus 1. a sub 2 is equal to 4 minus 1. So a sub 2 is equal to 3. Okay? So ibig sabihin, our second term is 3. Next, so let us find the third term. So ibig sabihin, pangatlong term na, papalitan natin yung n ng 3. So let's have our solution. So we have the general term again. So for finding the third term is a sub 3 is equal to 2n minus 1. So we have a sub 3 is equal to 2 times 3 minus 1. A sub 3 is equal to 6 minus 1. So we have a sub 3 is equal to 5. Okay. So next, find the fourth term. Ito na, yung pang-apat na term na yung hinahanap natin. Okay, so let's have our solution. So we have a sub 4 is equal to 2n minus 1. Then substitute 4 to n. So we have a sub 4 is equal to 2 times 4 minus 1. So a sub 4 is equal to 8 minus 1. And 8 minus 1 is 7. So our fourth term is 7. So therefore, so let's go back to our question. So find the first four term of the sequence using the general term a sub n is equal to 2n minus 1. So therefore, the first four term of the sequence are 1, 3, 5, and 7. Okay, so is it clear? Okay, very good. So let's proceed to our example number 2. So write the first three terms of the sequence. Okay, so the general form is a sub n is equal to 1 over n plus 1. So this time, fraction naman. Okay? So let's have our solution. So find the first term. So n is equal to 1. Okay, so we have a sub 1 is equal to 1 over our n is 1. So 1 plus 1. Then let us simplify the denominator. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Then copy the numerator. So we have a sub 1 is equal to 1 half. Okay, so now let us find the second term. So we have second term n is equal to 2. So a sub n is equal to 1 over n plus 1. So again, let us substitute. So we have a sub 2 is equal to 1 over 2 plus 1. And then a sub 2 is equal to 1/3. Okay, next. So let us find the third term. So n is equal to 3. So we have, again, the general term is a sub n is equal to 1 over n plus 1. So substitute. So we have a sub 3 is equal to 1 over 3 plus 1. So we have a sub 3 is equal to 1/4. Okay, so therefore the third term is 1/4. So find the first three terms of the sequence using the general term. So therefore, the first three terms of the sequence are 1 half, 1/3, and 1/4. Okay, so let's proceed to example number 2. So find the first 5 terms of the sequence. Okay, so given the general term, a sub n is equal to the quantity of -1 raised to n over 2 raised to n. So let's have our solution. So for the first term, so we have a sub 1 is equal to the quantity of -1 raised to 1 over 2 raised to 1. Substitute. And now, perform the operation. Since -1 is inside the parentheses, so we have -1 raised to 1 is -1. Then 2 raised to 1 is 2. Now, let's proceed to the second term. Okay, so we have a sub 2 is equal to the quantity of -1 raised to 2 over 2 squared. So, -1 times -1, so that is 1. So when we multiply two negative integers, so the sign of the product is positive. So we have 2 squared is equal to 4. So the second term is 1/4. Okay, so next, find the third term. So we have n is equal to 3. So we have a sub 3 is equal to the quantity of negative 1 raised to 3 over 2 raised to 3. Okay, so we have a sub 3 is equal to negative 1 times negative 1. So we're going to multiply the base by itself 3 times because the exponent is 3. So negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1 times negative 1. So that is negative 1. Okay, so for the denominator, 2 raised to 3. So we're going to multiply 2 by itself 3 times. Okay, so 2 times 2, 4 times 2. So that is 8. Okay, so the third term is negative 1 over 8. Or what? Negative 1/8. Okay, now, so let's proceed to finding the fourth term. Okay, so we have a sub 4 is equal to the quantity of negative 1 raised to 4 over 2 raised to 4. Okay, so we have a sub 4 is equal to 1 over 16. So again, when we multiply integers having negative sign, so ang technique lang dyan, kung add yung kung naka-parenthesis siya, then add yung, kung naka-parenthesis yung given, then add yung exponent, negative yung sagot. Kung yung exponent ay even numbers, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. So, yung sign ng ating product is positive. Okay? Then, we have for the denominator, so 2 raised to 4, so that is 2 times 2, 4 times 2, 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So the fourth term is 1 over 16. Okay, so let us find the fifth term. So we have a sub n is equal to the quantity of negative 1 raised to 5. So ano ang exponent natin? Add or even? Very good, add. So, yung sign ng sagot natin o ng product is negative. So, multiply 1 by itself 5 times. So, that is 1. And then, yung sign is negative. Then, for the denominator, so we have 2 times 2. Again, i-multiply yung 2 sa sarili niya ng 5 beses. 2 times 2, 4 times 2, 8 times 2, 16 times 2 is 32. So, the fifth term is negative 1 over 32. So, therefore, the first 5 terms of the sequence are negative 1 over 2, 1 over 4, negative 1 over 8, 1 over 16, and negative 1 over 32. Okay? Okay, so I hope you understand our lesson. Okay, so for our summary, okay, so we have again the definition of sequence, so that is a set of objects which is listed in a specific order or one after another. So again, the element or the member of the sequence is what we call the term. And we can classify sequence into two, so that is finite sequence and infinite sequence. And also in our lesson, you also learn how to find the general terms of the sequence. Okay? Okay, so again, for this week, so here is your study guide. Okay, so for task number 1, activate your prior knowledge. So you're going to answer how much do you know on page 1. So that is letter A, numbers 1 to 3. In your math notebook, again, you're going to answer your activity in your math notebook. And for task number 2, acquire new knowledge. So you're going to study again the examples given on the lessons, on the given lesson. So that is find the general term of a sequence and find the end term of a sequence. Okay, so for task 3, so that is application. So again, you're going to answer the following in your math notebook. So try this out. Letter A, page 4. So that is numbers 1 to 10. Then try this out. Letter B, page 5. So in page 5, you're going to answer the puzzle given. So the question is, why are policemen strong? Okay? So all you have to do, class, is to find the next term of the given sequence, and then you're going to uh, use, or you're going to decode, okay, the what is asked. Okay, so you're going to write the corresponding letter, okay, inside the box. Okay, so next is try this out. Letter A, pages 9 to 10. So you're going to answer all even numbers only. Okay, so in letter A, all even numbers. So that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 20. Okay, and for letter B, all odd numbers. So that is 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. Okay, so for your task 4, for assessment and assignment, okay, so I'm going to send you the activity and the quiz, okay, in our group messenger. Okay, so that's all. Okay, so I hope you learned something in our lesson. Okay, so for your references, okay, so we have mathematics grade 10, so alternative delivery mode. Okay, so ito yung mga ginamit kong references para sa ating lesson. Okay, so that's all. So from Ma'am Mashe and Ma'am Mai, so happy learning. So see you in the next video lesson.